is Dorchester. Bray. The next station is Bray. This is the last stop. Please mind the gap.
So I usually start with a little challenge for my co-presenters here. Who likes spiders?
I do.
Don't mind them.
I don't really. I'm not mad about them, But anyway, the noble false widow spider is not a native to Ireland, but hails from the Canary Islands and Madeira. And it was introduced to this country probably via a shipment of bananas. Where's he going with this story, you're wondering? Since it was discovered, it has proliferated and has made its home in Ireland. Now, it's not aggressive, and if it does bite you, and it'll only bite if it's threatened, the bite is about as harmful as a bee sting. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because the noble false widow spider was formerly identified by Miles Nolan in a garden shed in August 1998 here in Bray.
Okay.
Interesting.
So where's the shed?
I have them in my garage.
Yeah.
Have you really?
Loads of them, yeah.
The widow, the false widow.
Yes, the false widows. They love my garage.
Well, apparently they quite like it here. They're hardy spiders, and the female will produce about 1,000 offspring a year. And now they're all over Ireland.
Now I'm thinking of all the money I could make because back when Uncle Pat was a baby, or when I was a teenager, I collected money off my sisters as I was the spider getter in my house. Okay, so I get them now, and then my own daughters, one of them to this day is calls out and Daddy Long Legs or whatever, and I just think they don't do no harm. And often I've pretended to get a spider, but given them a nod to get going, so that I wouldn't be throwing them out into the cold air.
Yeah. Do you know what I'm terrified of? Domesticated rabbits. Weird. I know that's a weird thing to be terrified of.
So we'll probably get sent one in the post now.
But I am really terrified of them.
Well, on that note, welcome to Bray Talking Heads. So it's Mark,
Pat
and Leah.
Welcome once again. Now later we're going to hear about the Laurel Park roller disco craze and when it hit Bray in 1979. But first to the very entrance to the town of Bray, and that's the Bray Bridge, as locals call it. Leah, you are our dedicated delver on this subject. How many times have you traversed that bridge?
Oh, so many times. And I never quite realised the history of it. And I should have looked it up sooner. Because if you think about it, the bridge was actually built in the mid-19th century, around 1855-56. And it was actually built for horses and carriages.
Of course,
so not as heavy as the old buses going over it at the moment, trucks going over it, and yet it's still standing. So you can just imagine how well constructed it was. And that's all thanks to a man called David Edge. His company were the people that constructed it. Now, it is...
And when was that?
That built it. The 1850s. 1855 it was dedicated, and 1855-56 it was built.
So this is when Bray was going through its big transition with the
That's
railway.
Correct,
the railway came in 54.
Yeah, and also there was more visitors coming, there was more traffic, right? And it was linking Little Bray and what was now becoming bigger Bray over the bridge, right, which was just beginning to develop. But if you think about it, it's quite extraordinary that it's still there. It was actually made of stone, so it's a stone bridge.
Three arches.
Granite.
Is it granite?
Granite,
Mainly granite, which presumably came from Wicklow.
I presume so, but I couldn't find that, right? Okay. And it's got the 3 arches, and it is preserved now under the Wicklow development plan, which is great, but if you look at the amount of traffic coming across it, it's quite extraordinary. Now I believe that they're going to not actually widen it per se, but take the pavements off and put them on the outside of the bridge, right, so that the bridge itself becomes wider. Now that makes a lot of sense,
absolutely,
doesn't it? When you think of the amount of traffic that's coming across it. I look at that little bridge and I think, God, you're a wonder. I mean, I wonder how long modern bridges would last if what was going across them and what they were originally designed for changed completely.
Precisely. And also, I'm just thinking about it now as well. It is a bit of a feat of engineering because it's coming from a lower lying piece of land to a higher piece of ground. So it's on a hill as well as being a bridge.
It's on a hill across a river that often floods. And I don't think it has ever been damaged in any of the floods. Do you remember Hurricane Charlie?
Yeah.
And every other bridge in the place was damaged in some way. And our little stone bridge, Granite Bridge, stood there valiantly saying,
trees
I'm not going to be knocked down. And there was trees flooding down. There was various different debris. And there it stood happily. Yeah.
You can see the dedication for David Edge there. It's on the bridge,
is it? I didn't realise that.
The founding stone was laid by Sir George Hudson. Okay, it was built in 1 year. When you think of
good old Sir George.
When you think of it back in the time, and then I saw a post by local artist and singer Ray Cranley.
Yeah.
And Ray Cranley wrote a book called Chip Chop Cherry. It was about his childhood up in Ballywaltram, and he often goes on local media, social media here, with paintings, lovely paintings from yesteryear that he draws from his mind and paints from his mind. And he has a lovely one of the Bray Bridge, with Finlader's bus going up over it. He used to stop at number 8 on the main street. And he has that. I'll ask Ray, can we put that up? But he also wrote a song about Bray Bridge because when he was working in Manchester, he was so lonely for Bray that he wrote a song about crossing Bray Bridge.
Isn't that lovely? That's lovely. I didn't know that. And I know Ray,
Yeah, and the painting is actually the cover for the album that has the songs on it.
Wow.
So, and... Ray has that painting, but also he discovered, would you believe, that Mr. Edge is buried in Newcastle. And it doesn't give the date, but he died age 82.
That was a good age in those days, wasn't it?
Yeah. And he has a little bit too about that he was held hostage by rebels back in the day, but was released,
And I love the fact that today the bridge is dedicated to the singer, musician, Fran O'Toole.
Yeah, that's lovely. Yeah,
I think it's great that he was recognised because at the time in the 70s he was the leader of the Miami show band, but he was also regarded as one of the best soul singers in Ireland, and he really had a dazzling career ahead of him. And unfortunately, there was a terrible incident, but it's lovely to know that the bridge is dedicated to him and that he's recognised in Bray.
So Fran died age 29.
Isn't that shocking?
Shocking. It was the biggest funeral in Bray. And there's no plaque on it. It's engraved on the bridge, if you're coming down the main street on the left-hand side, the Fran O'Toole Bridge. That was done in July 2015. Now, local campaigners who campaigned for the bridge to be named in his honour said that they should have a blue plaque on it because you can't really see that one. There's a blue plaque for Fran, for his house down where Donald Devaney's house is now in Adelaide Road. Yeah. Yes, there's a plaque at the house where he was born, but there's people who said maybe there should be a plaque on the bridge, might explain it a bit better.
And it's funny, I had a chat with Peter Carroll, who's a regular listener to this podcast. Hello, Peter. And he supplied me with loads of information about Fran O'Toole. Well, I kind of knew some of this anecdotally anyway. His father was the famous Mick of Mick's Bingo. Remember that?
God, it was Pongo, a big attraction. Yeah. Pongo Mick.
Yeah. The bottom of Albert Walk that used to be there.
Did you used to walk by it and kind of sneak a look in to see what was happening? Yeah. I remember doing that very clearly and thinking this was very exotic, and it was kind of dark and there was these people there and you didn't know what they were doing. But I remember, the mother of one of my father's friends used to come out from the inner city and she used to come to Bray on her holidays. Mrs. Barnes was her name. I dreaded her because she used to try and put your hair into ringlets all the time because that was the fashion at the time, and I dreaded Mrs. Barnes. But she went down to Mix Pongo Hall every single day and played down there. And as far as she was concerned, that was her holiday. That was heaven. Putting ringlets in our hair and going to Mix Pongo.
Yeah.
Well, lads I hung around with got the idea one time of going in there, you know. And I went, oh, Jesus. You know? and they'd be, I don't know what they were paying to play it, you know, the checkmate. And then he'd have, you know, all the fat ladies, 88 or whatever, you know. Then when I think back, it was very social because some of those old ears that we saw, after the game, he might say, how is Mrs. Whatever? They might have a little conversation, you know, and whatever. So it was, you know, the social depot for the area and for people to come.
And
I think that's lovely.
that's great, absolutely. And just getting back to Fran, obviously that was his dad, immersed in some level of showbiz himself, obviously, an entertainer of sorts. But Fran, apparently as a 16-year-old, was often heard jamming in the back of his house there, which would have been, I suppose, to give people some location, at the back of Devney's shop there, that sort of area there.
Yeah.
And it was apparently, as you mentioned there, Leah, he was very fond of Otis Redding and people like that. So, and then later he formed a group with Paul Ashford, who eventually was in Step Aside, and Robbie Brennan and Mick Malloy and Fran Byrne and Donny Ryan and Deke O'Brien and all these people who became regulars on the local music scene.
Yeah.
And he was stunningly good-looking man as well, so that kind of
Very good looking.
helped his career. It certainly enhanced his career, I would have thought. The local David Cassidy, I think he had a purple Capri car, so you can imagine how that would have been
So it's the 70s, the wide shirts, you know,
yes,
with the big collars.
And then there was a magazine called Spotlight. It was a kind of a like hot press back in the day, but mainly for the pop music fans, you know, would have posters that you could cut out, and they'd be on the cover, you know, and standing against that car, you know, 6 or 7 of them, you know, all dressed the same.
Yeah.
With flares covering their platform boots. Yeah,
Well,
exactly,
I can't give out about that because I grew up in those days. Do you know? All I can say was that he was married with the 2 kids. He must have broken the hearts of many a girl when he got married.
And Peter, Mark, you referenced Peter Carroll there, a good friend of the show. Peter sourced lots of the albums, the old albums, and I actually digitised them for him and cleaned them up, you know, back in the day, you know, when this was a
And
thing.
were they mainly cover versions, or did they have some original?
No, he had original songs too. He had original songs too, you know, so the albums were, you know, obviously the production back in the day, in the 70s, it was a lot different than it is now, you know. There was a lot of covers. And, no social media. You know, one radio station, Radio Air, maybe had 2 shows on for pop music, you know. The bands travelled themselves the length and breadth of the country to you know, dance halls. Our ex-Prime Minister, Taoiseach Albert Reynolds, had a network of dance halls. Many people did. And you can pass by these bygone dance halls on your way to towns now in Ireland.
There's one up in Enniskerry.
That's it.
Do you know,
That's
when
right.
you're coming in from Bray,
right.
there's one, and that was owned by Mr. Rowe.
All right.
Yeah.
And we had a ballroom in Bray, the Arcadia Ballroom, at least it was called a ballroom anyway, and that was opposite where the Dart Station is now, which is now all apartments, obviously. And in 1968, Miami, let me just go back a bit though. 1967, he was enlisted by Dickie Rock to join the Miami Show Band. Because Dickie Rock was, I think, the leader or the lead singer at the time. They brought in Fran into the band, and he quickly became the rising star. And then they played in the Arcadia Ballroom in 1968 with its capacity of 2,000 fans, with another 1,000 fans outside. So hectic was the chaos outside that the guards had to be called.
Well, that doesn't surprise me. I remember seeing the show bands coming down the Albert Walk. They'd be, you know, they'd have practiced in the Arcadia and then they'd walk down the Albert Walk, maybe to go somewhere for something to eat or whatever. And there was one show band, I don't think it was the Miami, but they dressed in kind of sailor suits. And to this day, I remember seeing them. And there was a woman with them and she had the blonde buffoned hair and she had the long red nails. Yeah. And I thought she was elegance itself.
It could have been Eileen Reid and the Cadets, because Eileen Reid had that big hair. And our famous song that was number 1 for ages was I Gave My Wedding Dress Away, you know, and a forlorn song about, you know, jilted at the altar, and she finally gave the wedding dress away.
They were probably, to you, otherworldly looking, these guys.
Completely and totally. I just thought they were so elegant. There I was, probably with my bucket and spade, and the way in those days you always were dressed in hand-me-downs, so I was probably anybody's fancy. And I saw these people and they were like, wow.
Yeah, so it's the era of pop music, up to the 70s, the mid-70s, whereby, to get a number one, you had to have millions of sales, everybody waited with bated breath for the top 40, either recorded off BBC, watch Top of the Pops on a Thursday night through the snow on the television. The original Pans people, all crowded in the studio,
But if you're really dedicated and you had an AM or medium wave radio, Tuesday at about 5 to 1, the British Market Research Bureau actual top 40 came out that week,
released.
Which was all based on, apparently, on record sales. And so that's where I used to get it. And you'd barely be able to hear it. BBC Radio 1, obviously. And then you'd jot it all down and you'd go, okay, I need to get the number one single to have it for this week for either the radio or for the disco that you were doing. Or for yourself, even, just to show off.
Yeah. I think I have a few of those. 45s, weren't
45s,
yeah. I think I've one or two of them still left.
And to think that, what goes around now, me working with students to see last week a student bringing in an album, a retro album, and sharing this music with their fathers or whatever, and have very discerning tastes. So even though radio has its thing and it does its music, some of the younger heads down generation are into very diverse music tastes that you wouldn't imagine.
Oh, my son is the same. You would never imagine some of the things he plays. And it's great because his tastes are very eclectic. Yeah. So it's wonderful because I like that. You'd never know what he was going to play next.
Of course, the tragedy, as you mentioned there earlier, Leah, about Fran O'Toole's murder in Northern Ireland was even more poignant due to the fact that apparently he was all set to leave the band about 3 months later and pursue a solo career and go to Las Vegas and all sorts of things. So even more awful, really.
Yeah. God love him, that's all I can say.
Yeah.
In many ways, Fran O'Toole represents Bray, has always been a kind of a hotbed of musical talent for some reason. I don't know why that is. I mean, right up to the present day.
Yeah, I know of one young man, Josh Fortune, and he plays in a group band, whatever the word is now, called Soft Drink Millionaire. And not only is he a musician, but he's also a poet, and he is very talented. All I'd say to people is watch that space.
Very good. And there's another local band that I'd like to mention as well called Florence Road, an all-girl band. Extremely good. Really good band.
But it's great to see that, I think. It's great to see young musicians that are prepared to play live.
Florence Road, I also love the name, just, because it's very Bray. So there you go. Anyway, let's do a swivel here now to something that's very much community-based. And Pat, you've been out and about meeting first responders.
That's right. So often you go around the town or even on the seafront or wherever you might be, or even in the workplace, and you come across these AEDs, the automated external defibrillators, and they're run by volunteers in the main, okay, with the ones that are on public facing. And
what do you mean run by?
Well, I mean they're
maintained. Okay.
Well, they're used by first responders. So the first responders, they're on standby, volunteers. I do know people who have suffered cardiac arrests and haven't had these units to hand, or they weren't at the time, and it was unsuccessful in terms of the outcome. Anyway, I met up with Carmen Murphy, and just to kind of give you an idea about these units, I met her on the Boghall Road in Bray, because there's one up there outside the Daybreak shop, newspaper grocery shop on the Boghall Road there. I asked her exactly, what do you do? How do you use these things?
So when you open one of the machines, they set off an alarm. If you're using it for the right purpose, don't worry about that. We'll be notified about it, we'll reset it. When you take out a defibrillator, I would encourage that nobody be afraid to do it. I would also encourage members of the public in Bray to familiarise themselves with their nearest unit. So there are many of them around the town. I think nearly every main thoroughfare in the town has at least one on it. When you open it, open the AED. Some of them, when you open them, they switch themselves on automatically, or there's an on button. After that, it will talk you through every step of using the machine. It will not give a shock to a patient that doesn't require a shock. So I think sometimes people worry about, will I shock someone that they don't need it? If the patient, when the pads are put on, it assesses their heart rhythm. And if a shock is not appropriate, the defibrillator will not issue a shock. They are quite expensive. It's the maintenance of them. Your initial outlay is quite expensive, but then the pads and batteries are expensive to replace. So a lot of our fundraising is to maintain the 19 that we're responsible for around the town. So replacing pads and replacing batteries. Pads can cost in the region of 50 to 80 euro for a set of pads, and batteries are between 300 and 500 to replace. So you can imagine how quickly 19 units will eat up our fundraising.
And I'm sure there's a lot of thankful families in the community whereby you have been called and have been first on the scene to a house before the ambulance. I'm sure that's happened.
Yes, it has, because we can, often it might be a neighbour to one of us, and you would go very quickly and you get there quickly. We have a lot of local families that stay linked in with us where we've helped them, and it's lovely to follow up with people, and that's the beauty of it being a community-based organisation. Sometimes you know the people, sometimes you're related to the people you respond to, and to have that feedback when you know you've helped that family, and we get some really positive feedback and connection from that. So that's, I suppose, the beauty of the community.
You know, the volunteers, we don't necessarily see you out doing anything until an incident occurs.
Exactly, until you need us, or unless it happens out in public, which not that many of them do.
Are you on social media?
We are, yeah. We're on Instagram and we're on Facebook. So our Facebook is probably more active. We would encourage people to look up Bray Community First Responders and link in with us. Keep an eye on our social media.
Yeah, so we'll definitely put a link on our social media. So thanks very much, Carroll, for all the information, and on behalf of the community, thank you for all the work that you do.
No problem, thank you. It is a pleasure to work in the community, and we would like to see on that first Thursday at 7:30 in the Taylor Centre anyone who has any interest in either learning CPR or joining us.
Yeah, it's a great skill to have, Carroll, and thank you for your dedication.
No problem, thank you, Pat.
So they were, they formed in 2012 and they went live in June 2013. So they've been doing the service since that. There's 30 members that you have on, and they volunteer to be on call, and it operates within a 2-kilometre radius of Bray. So as soon as the call goes into the National Ambulance Service, they get the call and they respond to whoever it's local. They have training on the first Thursday of the month if you're interested. It's in the Rename building up in Sunbeam House, the first Thursday of the month. They do actually go to schools and they go to, sports clubs and stuff. As I say, it's not a service that you think is wanted, but for anybody who has a cardiac arrest or a stroke, them being on the scene quickly before the ambulance can save a life,
Absolutely. And I think it's important to point out that it's not just cardiac arrests and strokes. They're often called out to other personal crisis in houses where somebody has got sick for one reason or another, and the ambulance is on its way. And the other thing I'd like to point out is that there is first responder groups all over Ireland now. Yeah. I remember when they first started, and there wasn't that many of them, and now every town and every village boasts a first responder group.
Yeah, and since I've spoke to Carroll, I've seen these things in the workplace. I've seen them on the way around places, So it's probably, no harm to go around like a smoke alarm to take note of where these things are.
There's one on the top of Florence Road at Hayes's Butchers.
The fact that the technology talks you through what to do.
That's incredible. Incredible.
What it does. Yeah. It talks you through what to do, and that it won't do it if it's not necessary.
I think that's fabulous.
Yeah, that's fascinating technology, Well, look, let's move on, or maybe go back even further in time. I'm not sure. Who remembers I Will Survive by Gloria Gaynor? It was number one in 1978.
Oh, I remember it well.
Yeah.
Okay. Apparently, it was the first video to feature a roller disco, or at least somebody on roller skates in a disco setting.
Right.
Okay, and this triggered, apparently, a craze called roller disco. And Bray had its own roller disco, which was Laurel Park over there in Woodbrook on the outskirts of Bray. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
I do. I didn't go very often, but I do remember it.
You
and
went,
the
did you?
reason that I didn't go very often is, oh my goodness, the way they could skate. Yeah. They'd put you to shame. They were just, there was some of them there. And I think they went every night of the week. And they were just amazing. So if you got on, into the ring like me, and you thought you were a great skater, you very soon realised that you weren't, and you couldn't even keep up the speed.
What I remember most of it was that you got the skates, you were trying to get your size, and as a teenager or whatever, and then you got the skates and you put your foot in, and the first thing you thought was your socks were damp or something, because the sweat that was in the these would be used all day, the boots would be used all day.
Yeah.
Go
far
faster,
too much information.
But I think the really professional people, the people that were there, they had their own skate. You could see them. They'd almost be customised.
Get your skates on, eh? But anyway, it opened in 1979 in July and kept going right through the 80s as the craze peaked, and the memories apparently live on. Lots of people in Bray were roller skater stars in that roller disco back in the day.
It was another thing to do. It didn't involve alcohol. You could just go and have a great time at it. Actually, last night I was watching a sci-fi movie which is set in London in the future, and what did they do as entertainment? They had a roller disco.
It'll be back like everything else comes back. Well, I had a chat with John Ryan. He was over in Laurel Park almost every night, because he was a member of the Bray Red Cross, and he was asked to be on hand as a medic over there. Now you can imagine with roller disco there's probably people falling and cracking all sorts of things, but due to the location of Woodbrook being outside County Wicklow, he attended in a sort of an unofficial capacity, and his role was to provide medical attention for anyone who needed it, but he also found himself getting really into the roller skating, such that he became part of the demonstration team. He was that good at it, and he'd never skated before. He went over there, and anyway, I met up with him and I asked him to first explain what it was like there at the Laurel Park roller disco.
Lots of sweaty people with bruises and broken collarbones, but women in very short shorts. And men too. I got paid to wear a singlet advertising Pepsi Cola, skating around the rink with a pair of satin shorts.
But skating to the music, I mean, it's not dancing, so it must be very. You have to be really skilled.
You can boogie on skates.
You can boogie on skates. Yeah. I'll take your word for that. Yeah.
It's very easy to boogie on skates. Much easier than on your feet, because they're rolling with you.
Okay, but you still want to be pretty skilled.
You have to have a certain skill level. It's the same as anything. Bray was lucky. Bray had a skating rink in the 1960s in Fatima House. Now, they were old, what they called Chicago skates. They had hard wheels and they clipped onto your shoes. They were clip-ons. The great innovation in Laurel Park was that there were boot skates. So, yes, for the first month it was quite a pleasant experience. But after that, the boots began to... Let's just say they had a hue.
Okay, right. Okay.
And it just got worse and worse. But the wheels that they used on those were particularly wide and gave people confidence, because they didn't think they were standing on a little narrow wheel. Didn't make that much difference. It all depended on their own centre of balance. Mm-hmm. And once they'd figured out where their centre of balance was in relation to the skates, they could do virtually anything they wanted to do. It's all about balance and timing. Funny, most things in life are about balance and timing. But yeah, I loved it. I had never skated before I went to Laurel Park, and within 5 months I was on the demonstration team. But yeah, it was good fun.
And the music that was being played there? What
disco.
Was it? All disco. And who were the DJs in the one in Bray?
Brian Nolan.
Oh yeah, I know Brian. Yeah.
Ernie Gallagher.
I know Ernie.
Tommy Green.
Tommy Green, who's now on the East Coast. Yeah.
Mark Brady from Braheen Park.
And so it was about the music and the dancing. So it was a different experience to going to a normal nightclub or disco.
You certainly had more room than you'd have, because normal nightclubs, they tended to jam everybody in. They had to allow room in a roller disco, so it was more airy.
Of course, yeah, okay.
And it was more comfortable. There were days in the summer when it was unbearably hot. There was a learner's floor called Mugs Alley. Right? I mean, my first learning experience was, I was there for a Halloween party, and the party didn't start until the nightclub closed. So the party started about 1:30 in the morning. By 2 o'clock, I was absolutely naked. The guys on the demonstration team stripped me naked and said, put a pair of skates on, and they said, when you can get around the floor, the big floor, once without touching the barrier, we'll give you your clothes back. What they didn't specify was that they would give me one sock back. So it took me an hour to get myself to a relatively decent state up dress. But it was good fun. It was good fun. Then a few months later, I was on the demonstration team. I just gained in confidence, and the ability to go there 5 or 6 nights a week just made it easy.
So naked skating in Laurel Park. I'm sure John's glad that the ubiquitous mobile phone wasn't there to capture everything on video as it would be today.
Yeah, no, much better. You had a lot more privacy. People might talk about it, but they didn't see it.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, he lived to tell the tale anyway. So yeah, I mean, it was quite the place apparently.
And of course, it was in the Fatima house as well.
Yeah.
And it always brings me back to it must have been 76, because I think when this record was out, Hot Butter by Popcorn was always played in the one in the Fatima house. Right. I'm not sure what the difference was. Maybe it was on once a week or something in the Fatima house. Yeah, but a craze it was, and then died away, and then line dancing came up back. Remember that was the thing. Remember the line dancing?
Oh, I remember that as well.
Yeah.
But I think crazes come and go, because when I was young, hula hoops were a huge craze.
Yeah.
And then they came back a few years ago, and hula hoops. So wait, watch this space. You'll see the roller discos coming back.
It'll come back, yeah, indeed. And actually, John being stripped naked and dancing around naked, it reminded me of something that I read in the paper during the week. Apparently, there's nude saunas now. Given the fact that we covered the saunas in Bray there recently, I thought I'd mention it. If you dare, I don't know if anyone wants to volunteer to go along and check them out. There's one in Dundrum, apparently.
No thanks.
Not sure that'll work in Bray.
I know a fellow who tried to be nude in the sauna in Bray, and he was down on the floor trying to do a few press-ups, but unfortunately he didn't see the mouse trap that was there. And
oh no, don't say that. Oh no, you're making that up.
Apparently as well, you would have thought that it's actually illegal to be naked in public. It isn't in Ireland.
No.
And not unless your intentions are,
dishonourable,
threatening to others, apparently. Yeah.
Oh so wow! Well, I dare you both to walk, or one of you to walk down the main street. It's dark naked and see what the reaction is.
I've skinny dipped in Bray, over
I think
the years.
We all have.
But I really can't, for the life of me, imagine walking into, say, a mixed sauna naked. I just couldn't imagine myself.
I wouldn't do it in Bray because everybody would know you, but I might do it abroad.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Sweden or somewhere.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
Where it's the norm.
I can get if you were an naturist and you wanted to walk around in the wild or something naked or some sort of thing, or even in the sea. But why you'd want to sit in the company of other people naked?
You see, I think maybe we're too self-conscious about our bodies. There's lots of races that are not self-conscious about their bodies. So we might.
We're out of kilter with the rest of Europe, because most European countries, they don't give a damn about such things.
Well, that's the old influence of the Catholic
Oh, listen,
Church for
guys,
many
that's
years.
what it is.
I'll
you
give
know.
Precisely, yeah.
I'll give it a lash, as Jack will say, and I'll report back.
Okay, right.
Okay, I'll see.
But we need video evidence now.
Video
we
evidence.
can't just bring an audio recorder.
We'll get John Ryan to come back to Erin and come with me, and we'll into the sauna. And Leah, you can keep the receptionist busy while we're in there trying it out. Okay, so you do the sauna bit, and then you go into the plunge pool.
Yeah,
so
that's very important to go into the plunge pool.
I suppose when you come out of the plunge pool, there'll be nothing to see, really, would there? Even if anybody did come on the scene.
Do you know something? You're getting a bit blue
Okay.
here now, in fairness.
Time to
right?
hit that fader. Quick, where is it? Before we go, I just want to thank Peter Carroll for all his help, particularly in relation to the Fran O'Toole story, and to John Ryan as well for bearing everything for us there. And before we go, if you've listened to us up to this point, thank you very much. And a quick reminder to like and follow us, or send us a comment via Spotify or Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you listen. And you can email us directly at braytalkingheads@gmail.com if you've any comments or suggestions for us. Many thanks for listening. Goodbye now.
Thank you, and sorry about the content.
X-rated.
Yeah, and the helpline is RTE/helpline. So,
You've been listening to Bray Talking Heads, stories from a seaside town. To contact the show, email braytalkingheads@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram and Blue Sky at Bray Talking Heads. Bray Talking Heads. History, stories, opinions and conversations. A podcast for Brayites everywhere.